Hey Beacon, welcome home to your Bounce Back Blueprint Community podcast, where you are challenged to be, do, and have God's best as you thrive on your journey from setback to success. I'm your Bounce Back guide, Tiffany Struthers, and I'll be guiding you on the journey by sharing tips, tools, and the tea on how I was able to bounce back from escaping death, healing from heartbreak, and finding hope in homelessness. And then I wrote an award-winning book all about it. And shout out to God, ever since I was courageous enough to share my story, my life and the lives of women around the world have been forever changed. And as a member of the Bounce Back Blueprint community, I'm called to teach you to do the same. So grab your journal and let's build this blueprint. Hey Beacon, before we start building this week's blueprint, I want to introduce you to our featured guest this week, and she is the phenomenal Karlet Hewitt. Here's a little bit about Karlet. Understanding the power of instincts, Karlet Hewitt's credible judgment has positioned her as a top connoisseur in business development and strategy. Coupled with her deep reservoir of experience and skill, her commitment to exceptional results is unwavering. As the founder of the Purpoint Group, Hewitt provides sound counsel to a wide range of clientele in the entertainment, medical, and lifestyle industries. Put yourself in position to win on purpose, she constantly recites, understanding that no one is going to recognize you or create your opportunities. You absolutely have to create them for yourself. In 2015, Hewitt built that table and gave herself a seat as the founder of the Purpoint Group. Starting as a lifestyle agency for entrepreneurs, the Purpoint Group has expanded to service individual brands, key influencers, entrepreneurs, and small to mid-sized business owners. Based in the greater New York area, Hewitt and her team provide front to back business solutions and strategies inclusive of event planning, publicity, support, branding, and technology development. Without further ado, I give you my conversation with Karlet Hewitt. Put yourself in position to win on purpose. That's amazing official bio. I want to welcome her, of course, and then give her the opportunity to introduce herself because I think we do so the best. I'm so excited that she's here. Thank you, Karlet, for joining us. Please share with the Bounce Back Blueprint community who you are beyond the bio.
Sure. My name is Karlet Hewitt, and I am an events management specialist and brand manager to some of your favorite celebrities, influencers, and small business owners. I operate very heavily in the event planning space and also project management.
That is not the extent of who you are, though. She's being modest, y'all. She's being modest as she sits here looking as fabulous as can be. She is also a mom and an author and an encourager. Listen, I need to let the people know. Let them know.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah, sure. So I am an author. I am an author of a prayer journal. I am a mom to a sweet little soon-to-be 8-year-old boy who's turning 8 on Sunday. I've been operating in this online space for a very long time, since 2015 to be exact. So it's been really fun and interesting time.
Yeah, and you've had some serious staying power because we all know that it is challenging in these internet streets.
It is. It's so interesting, right? People think it's easy. It is challenging.
Well, I think too often those of us who are successful make it look too easy. So with that in mind, I want you to think about, these last 5 years or even before you came into the entrepreneurial space, thinking about the challenges that you've had. So over the last month or so, I've been sharing with the audience about the importance of recognizing that we have to, in this time, prioritize purpose over pandemics, right? Because while COVID-19 and all of the other national, around the world pandemics are happening, we all have personal pandemics. And so I want you to share with us or shed some light on or some personal pandemics that have impacted or made this journey to being the phenomenal woman that you are a challenge?
Girl, where should we even start? So honestly speaking, I'll say the world went into a pandemic back in March, right? Like everything pretty much got shut down in March. But I'd like to say God gave me foresight because he shut down my world in November. What? October 2019 is when my personal pandemic started, believe it or not. And so when everybody was flustering all over, trying to figure out what to do next, I was already prepared because I was already fighting a battle in October.
Come on.
In October, my husband and I, at the time, he literally just decided he didn't want to be in the marriage anymore. And so he left. And it's so interesting when I say that. I say it all the time because people look at me like, what do you mean he left? And I say it exactly as it is. Haven't seen him again. I have no idea where he is. He just left.
Wow.
He just left. And then a few months after that, so that was in October of 2019. And then in December 4th to be exact, my mother, very best friend, my everything, my world, she passed away from stage 4 pancreatic cancer. And so having a marriage end abruptly, and then, you know, which at the time he's my best friend, my supporter, my provider, everything, you know, my world. And then my mom being my very best friend, my biggest cheerleader, everything in the world, having two people completely just leave my life abruptly. That's a personal pandemic. I mean, God literally flipped my whole world, picked it up, flipped it upside down, and was like, nope, I'm shaking it. We're making this new. And it was hard.
Hard is an understatement. I'm sitting here with my mouth open.
Yeah.
Like in a matter of less than 2 months, that was 2 heavy hits.
It was a lot. And so coming into 2020, you know, grieving the abrupt end of a relationship, and then the loss of my mom coming into January. Honestly, I buried my mom December 4th, and I went right back to working with my clients on December 5th.
Wow.
I immediately went into flight or fight mode. I immediately went into, okay, we have a problem and I create solutions. I need to step in for myself because I still need to be present for my son. I still have obligations. And so even though my world was flipped upside down, I knew like I still have to show up for Karlett. And people looked at me and they were like, dude, what are you doing? Like, are you online? Are you going to that meeting? Are you going to that event? Are you serious? And I was like, yes, I am. And then January hit. I don't know what happened when we said Happy New Year, but it was almost like I got hit in my stomach so bad. And it just all fell on my shoulders. I felt incredibly heavy. I fell into a very dark depression. I just felt like my world was ending in January, and it was right after we said Happy New Year. Up until that time, it seemed like nothing was real.
Right.
It was just happening.
Things were moving so fast.
And I was just in it, you know? And then January, it was like everybody was so optimistic and so excited about 2020. And, you know, typically I'm like, oh, what are your goals and what are we going to do? And how are we going to, and this year it was like, I'm just trying to make it to the next day.
Wow. So I'm curious though, because you said that immediately, like you were right back at it, right?
Right.
And one of the things that you said to yourself is like, I create solutions. So when at that time, we're talking like, you know, the month of December, because it was pretty early on when you lost your mom, what solutions had you convinced yourself that you'd created? Or was it just staying busy? Was that your solution?
That's exactly it. So with respect to my mom's passing, she'd gotten diagnosed in January 2019. And so for the entire year, we had preparation time, you know, like we knew it was coming. We didn't know when, but we knew the end of her life was drawing near, being diagnosed at stage 4.
Right.
And so we spent as much time with her as we could. We hung out. She prepared us. Like, I would love to just say, God loved her so much that he gave her a perfect end to a life. And we can only hope that he loves us so much that we get to experience what she did. Right. And so I would like to say the end to the marriage is what really hurt me a lot more than my mom's death, because I could prepare for that. in my subconscious, I knew it was going to happen. I knew, okay, mommy is sick. She's not talking. She's not verbal anymore. Like I could prepare for that.
It
But
wasn't
then having,
unexpected.
yeah, exactly. And then just the relationship ending, that really hit very hard because I can't even describe to you what that feels like, but it's just like, oh my God, wait, I have to protect my son. So it's like, as a mother, the first thing that I'm doing is, wait, what about him, right? My son. What about Adam? And so that's how my brain clicked. It just was like, well, bills still got to get paid. Rent still got to get paid. Still got to show up. I got to wake up because whether I want to or not, I have to be there for that little boy. So
I think it's that, but also, like you said, when someone just up and walks away, you don't talk to them, you don't know where they are. What other solution is there?
Tiffany, good question. You literally just, you got to take care of yourself. Like you have to take care of yourself. And so the solution that I created was, where's my support system? I need to create a new support system immediately. And at the time, the support system was the comfort of clients, right? Like, well, I know I have income. This is important because the way that he left, I've never spoken about this on audio, so forgive me. Okay. But the way that he left was, let me drain the bank account and let me leave 46 cents.
My Lord.
And I say that exactly as I say it, 46 cents. And
so that too added to the clients not only being your support system, but also being the solution, right? Because you got to get that paper back. You got to get your coins up now.
Yep. Good thing I have my own set. It's always good to have an extra reserve. But from the main one, it was completely depleted, completely drained. And that was in October. And so December comes along, now we're at holiday time. Right. My mom passes away. We get to the end of the year now. Things are trickling down. People are going on vacation. Boom. Happy New Year. Pandemic.
Right. And so what was it after the new year? Was it that things were kind of slow, as they often are, like that first week of the year? Because like you said, people are on vacation, people are just getting back into the swing of things, some of them recovering from the partying down, right? So what was it in that time frame that shifted, that you kind of got that hit in your gut and felt like, whoa, this is real?
Yeah, I remember like it literally was yesterday. So as you said, business is slow at the end of the year, top of the year, right? Depending on the industry that you're in. Right. And a lot of the clients that I work with are celebrity artists and or lifestyle clients. And so, working with clients in the medical spa space, nobody needs Botox after the holidays. They just got it done, So Right. It was like they just got it done. They don't need it. So business is slow. It's cold out. It's dreary out. So a lot of my clients were kind of holding on to their funds as well, because if business is slow for them, business is going to be slow for me.
Right.
Now we get into January. Happy New Year. Business is slow. First client goes, hey, business is slow. I'm going to pull that contract from you. And I was like, okay, deep breath. Husband's gone. Mom died. I'm not feeling good. First contract is gone. Then March comes. February, we just skipped the whole month. I don't even know what happened in February because I was in a dark place.
Yeah.
I couldn't see in February, right? I couldn't see. And March comes. Cruise ships are not being let into ports. They're not signing new contracts for talent on the cruise ships, which a lot of the artists that I was working with at the time, they have all their shows on the cruise ships. And so what happens next is contracts are being pulled. Oh my goodness, I lose another one. Now I'm going down, Tiffany.
Yes.
I lost my support. I lost all of my support in a matter of 4 to 5 months.
Yeah.
And I started to panic. And one day my son walked in the room. I'll never forget it. I was in my bedroom. I have blackout curtains. And I remember laying in my bed, and I remember my son walking in, and he was like, Mom, he does one of these. He's like, Mom, you got to get out of here. And I was like, oh my God, like that was the Holy Spirit literally using his little voice to tell me to get up, like get up and walk. It was literally like, get up and walk. And I heard it. And I was like, okay, Karlet, like, you went to work the day after you buried your mom. You have to get up. You know, you did it before, you have to get up. You have to like cling to it's all I have is my faith. I have nothing else.
Yes.
I don't have very many things, but I have my faith.
That's right. No
and I know,
what.
and I know like, okay, Lord, you took my mom home. The marriage didn't work out. I still have my home. I still have my son. He's healthy. We got food in our fridge.
That's right.
My bills are paid by the grace. I got to get up. And that's what I did. I got up.
So what would you say? Now, obviously, you know, I'm a woman of faith as well. And I know that for those of us who are really well rooted, even when we get knocked down, those roots are what ground us so that when it's time to get back up, even if we're shaken, even if we stumble, we can get back up. But for the woman who's listening, who's in the dark because of her personal pandemics that hit in October, November, December, and then, you know, she's losing money, all of the things that you said, maybe in the exact same context, and she doesn't feel like her faith roots are grounded enough. How is she supposed to get up? How would
honestly, it's really creating community, right? And I think when we think about community, we think of our family, automatic. You're like, let me go cling to my security, my family. But I have a very close-knit family, and we're all scattered, you know, throughout the East Coast. So it's not as easy for me to get access to my dad or my sister or my brothers, but they're there, you know?
Right.
I had to create community elsewhere. I would love to say, like, just shout out to all of the women on the internet, like the women who just show up, women like yourself, you know, like trust me, Tiffany, I watch you, I listen, I hear you. This is support. That's what support looks like. It's that indirect support, that indirect community, the places and spaces that you can go to get what you need to fill you up when you are absolutely empty. That's the first thing that she should do. Go create community, whether it's joining a Facebook group, finding therapy, finding friends or people that you don't know that you can just rely on to share your story and your woes. Like I always tell people all the time, people will support you. People will absolutely come for you if you just open your mouth and say, hey, by the way, I actually need help right now.
For you to say you need
I'm not doing good today. Today I'm not doing, I didn't even eat. You know what I mean? Like I need help today. And it's not a matter of them bringing you the food or giving you the money. It's just them being like, girl, did you eat?
That's right.
Girl, drink water. You're dehydrated. Girl, you dehydrate. You know what I mean? Like just creating community and support.
Yes. And being open to receiving.
Yeah.
So when Adam told you, all right, mommy, like that's enough. This is it. Like it's time to get up. Who did you reach out to? Because like you said, you were finding comfort and community with your clients. They were your support. But now things are going crazy because events and travel are your jam, and that's not jamming right now. So,
it wasn't jamming.
What did you do? Who did you reach out to?
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't remember who's the first person, but I would like to say my sister. We are very close. And because we're grieving together, you know what I mean? Like we're grieving together. So it's really important that we kind of walk in this together. I always think of my sister like a stick of gum. Like if you chew it, it sticks together. She's like my stick of gum. Literally, I always have one. I like that. And so definitely just call my sister. I know like she's going through it. She's an attorney for the state. And but she also has to get up and go because there's responsibility behind her. And so definitely my sister was the first person that I called. And then I have an extensive network behind me. So from, you know, my Instagram community to my Facebook community to my professional development community, like just really relying on other women to lift me up.
And letting them know that you need lifted.
For sure. Absolutely. Is the most important thing.
And then what about those times when you are alone, right? Like when Adam goes to sleep or, you know, is busy doing his thing and you're having a moment with yourself. How do you make sure that you're being refilled? This
is such a good question. And I'm really, really happy that you asked because people ask this question all the time. And I always listen to the response of other people. And so I always say when you are by yourself, it's so important to have a journal. I journal. I am a journaler. I am an author of a journal. Those are the most intricate moments where like, if you just put it down on paper and just let God know, like, look, it's right here. This is my journal right now. You know, just any time of the day that I'm just like, Lord, I need you. I don't know how I'm going to navigate these waters by myself. I can't. Before I call a friend, before I Google something, I always just go to my paper, because he said, you know, write the vision, make it plain, and I'll come for you. He always will come for us if we just go to him first, not second or third, but go to him first.
That's right. That's right. And I always tell people, your journal is a judgment-free zone. It's between what you write in your journal is between you and the Lord.
Yes, that's so true.
And I'm very similar. I'm a journal junkie.
Me too.
When I go to the gym, or like if I go for a walk and I take my fanny pack, I have this little journal that can fit in there, because if I get a divine download, like I don't want to lose it. So I want to be able to jot it down real quick. So yeah, I can definitely relate to that. So as you got to the point where you were getting up, you're seeking out your support, you are, you know, doing what you need to do to fill yourself back up and commune with God, which is, I believe, is so very important. How did you then begin to shift to make sure that business didn't completely disappear under the circumstances with the new pandemic that you are working through?
Yeah. So like I said, initially, I really think like the Lord prepared me for 2020 in 2019. Let's go a little bit deeper. So if we go back before diving into full-time entrepreneurship, I was an executive assistant, chief of staff for about 10 years. My background is in financial investments. I've worked in financial services and commercial real estate for years, in the C-suite, you know, so very high level, really being the catch-all and the go-to for pretty much every and any thing, specifically events or planning or coordination and calendaring and all of those things, again, the solutions. And so when it comes time to creating a solution for just about anything, I can really handle just about anything for other people. Right. Having to make the decision and be quick-witted to do it for myself, that was different, Tiffany. It was different. It's really easy to carry out a solution for somebody else because they're depending on you. But when you are depending on you fully, you have no choice but to get creative.
When you're creating for someone else, you're on the outside looking in.
Yeah.
Right? It's challenging to do it when you're knee deep in the problem and you're trying to create the solution while you're in the problem, right? The good thing is, though, when we get to the point where we're depending on ourselves and we realize that we can't do it alone, God steps in.
Yeah, it's true. If you let him.
If you let him, that's key right there. Yes. Yes. Yeah.
It's so funny. That's very true, because there was a time when I had to say, I have no idea what I'm doing. Right? I have no idea what I'm doing. The basis of my business is gone. Like, it's gone. The brand management access, it's still there, but it's not as much because the clientele that I would support in that respect is gone. Are cruise ships even out? Right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what's going on right now? I have no idea. And so there was an artist that came to me about April 2020, and he said, I got to do something. I can't do this. I have to do something. Right. And I was like, okay, well, here's what we can do. I'm very, very, very tech savvy. So I tell people all the time, I've built websites. I can code. I can read Java, HTML, you name it. Here's what we can do. You can engage your audience by bringing them online. Right. And he was mesmerized by the idea, like, how are we going to make this happen? And it's like, oh, this is easy. So here's the solution, right? This is me. I'm like, no, it's going to be easy. And he's looking at me like, what do you mean it's going to be easy? And it's like, no, it's just, you know, getting creative, finding a solution. Now, at the time, don't even ask me if I knew what I was talking about. I didn't even know, but I just knew.
You could figure it out.
I just knew that, is this what you want to do? No problem. I know all of the people that can help put the components together to make it happen. Yeah. Again, tapping into the resources, right? I never met anybody that's more resourceful than me, regardless. And so there's really nothing that I can't take on to solve, truly.
Right, right. So you were able to do that for him, but so was that the beginning of the solution for pivoting your business?
Yeah, that was the solution. So back in, let's go back a little bit, right? So back in 2018, girl, I had an encounter. in 2018, and the Holy Spirit visited me and was like, you got to start this events company.
I remember the shift. To the Purpoint Group, right? Yes,
Yeah.
I remember.
Yeah, because I was online as Forever Carly Forever.
Yes. And
Yeah.
I remember like, oh, what's this?
Yeah.
It's got something new going on.
That's so funny. You've been with me for a while. You know the story. So here, this is all the Forever Carly paraphernalia, all the pink stuff. Everything was pink, right?
Yes.
And I had an encounter, and the Holy Spirit said to me, first of all, I don't even know who that is. And I can't bless that because I didn't create it. I don't know who that is. And I was like, but I like this. This is what I like. This is, you know, the people like me this way. This is me arguing with God.
Yes, because we do that, right? And I remember my pastor saying once before, like when you get into a tug of war with God, if you start to win, you are losing.
You are losing, yes. And so I remember going back and forth in 2018, and then I woke up one day and it was just, it was the weirdest thing, Tiffany, I kid you not. I have no idea where the name Purpoint Group came from, but it was literally dropped in my spirit. And I woke up the next day, and this is back in 2018. And I woke up and it was like Purpoint, and it was like purpose pointing. And it's just Purpoint, that's the word. And I was like, okay, cool. So I called my attorney, and we no thought, no strategy, no plan, no nothing.
Spirit led, 100% spirit led.
That was in February 2018. And then in, I want to say December 2018, I Declare Events was birthed out of the Purpoint Group. So it's I Declare Events brought to you by the Purpoint Group.
I remember that too.
Yeah.
So sad I couldn't get to New York to be a part of that event.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And so I like to say I was prepared for the pandemic, because although the roster of clients underneath the Purpoint Group is not the same, the clientele under I Declare Events is pretty sustainable in such a time as this. And so he knew before I knew what I was going to need to sustain in 2020, back in 2018. And that's the pivot, really.
So you shifted back to I Declare Events, and just for the sake of those who are listening who aren't familiar with you, which if they're not, I don't know where they've been, but can you give a little bit of insight as to what you shifted, or, you know, you went from the traditional event planning and the travel for your clients and for artists back to I Declare Events, and what does that shift look like?
Yeah, sure. So typically before the pandemic, I would do offline events. So heavy on the networking events, conferences, webinars, meetings for corporate clients. And now with the pandemic, I've literally been able to just pivot and do everything virtually. So everything that I would do under the Purpoint Group, we now offer it under I Declare Events in terms of the virtual planning, conferences, webinars, concerts, meetings. And it's so crazy how this thing has just taken off. Tiffany, I wish I could tell you, it has just skyrocketed off.
Imagine just myself thinking about how to shift some of the things that I do to online, and working really hard not to lose the people factor that you get when it's an in-person experience.
Very good point. So basically, based off exactly what you just said, I've now been brought into a lot of these companies to consult and to give them insight on how they can keep and foster engagement between their audiences and employees and communities without losing that connectivity piece, because it's very easy to do if all we're doing is sitting on Zoom all day long. But there are other components that you can factor in to foster community online and make it more engaging. So not only am I consulting, but I'm also planning and producing the events right now. And so that's what the pivot has been for me.
And so would you say that at any point you saw this coming?
Never. No, I didn't.
And so how has the adjustment been for you? Like, obviously it's working, quote unquote, working now, right? There's this shift, and now everybody's like, oh, how can I do this virtually? But in the meantime, right, between March, when you were getting all of those contracts pulled, in April when you had that client and you were like, oh, I'll just put it online for you. What went on in the meantime? What was the process for preparing to, or the actual process that you utilize when you're trying to create a solution?
Girl, we're still in the process of preparing for the solution. It's like, honestly, since April till present day, it has just been like this behind me, I don't know if you can see it. It's like a
Yes,
board.
your whiteboard.
That's the roster. That's the roster of the current events that I am responsible for. It has been a whirlwind. I've gone from being a team of 1 to a team of 12.
Look at God.
He knew. He knew. I've had to seek mentorship ASAP. I've had to reach out to my mentors and be like, hey, I need some assistance here. I need some guidance. Help me navigate this new space. This is why relationships are so important, because I've already established relationships with them. It's easy for me to just, go back and say, hey, can we look at this? Can you help me? Give me some direction here. And also too, I've been blessed to hire freelancers and other independent contractors to come on board my team at the Purpoint Group to help facilitate these events.
So what would you say to the person who's listening who feels like she has a pretty decent network, but she doesn't necessarily have a mentor? Like, how did she move one of those relationships into a mentor type relationship that can lift her as she's climbing and help her to grow through as she shifts to being able to develop some creative solutions in this season?
I love this question because I Declare Events was developed for networking, right? It was literally developed for networking, and it was developed. So I have like the business card here, and it literally is a microphone, and it would say I declare, because it's people have to say what they want. You have to declare it. So I would say to that woman that is trying to figure out, how do I transition a regular relationship? Just ask for it, reach out, make a list of 3 key people in your life who you A, look up to, B, are in a better position than you are, or who is they're operating in a space that you aspire to be a part of, and ask them how to navigate these new waters. Ask them if they would be okay with you checking in once a month to have conversations. What would that look like? Is it email? Is it Zoom? But ask. And the worst thing that they could possibly say is, I don't have time right now, or I don't think I'm the right person for you, but I can refer you to.
That's right.
So ask, just declare what you want, write it down, and then go and ask for it. And it all connects. It's so amazing.
It is amazing. I have to agree with you there. And I think, just like you were sharing about how you made the transition, when you're in position and you're doing things in purpose, the pivot isn't as challenging as you think. A lot of times it's in our mind that we have to pivot. That's harder than actually the actions that are necessary for that pivot, right? Would you agree?
Yeah, I do. And so, my favorite quote, like, this is my favorite quote. I tell everybody all the time, everywhere I go, it's put yourself in position to win on purpose. And that's what we do at the Purpoint Group. You put yourself in position to win on purpose. And you do that by taking up space and asking the hard questions, raising your hand when nobody else is, and making people, aware that, hey, I'm here too, and I either need help or I have a solution for you. So it's really just standing out.
And how do you take up space in this season without guilt? And I ask this question because it's something that I know a lot of women are struggling with right now, right? I had an experience with a client last week, and she was saying, like, kind of like you, because she was being prepared in advance for what's happening right now, she's doing well. She's actually thriving, but she feels guilty because there are so many people who are having a hard time. And so I want to talk a little bit about, since you brought it up, like giving yourself permission to take up space. And how you take up space even when you're not necessarily at your best. How do you take up space when you're grieving an abrupt end to a relationship, or when you're grieving the loss of clients? How do you still show up and take up space?
That's such a great question. And honestly, the only answer that I have is just leaning on my faith. That's it. I tell people all the time, we're not different. Like you and I, or them and I, we're not different. None of us are different. We just make different decisions.
That's right.
So I'm going through it too, right? My pandemic just looks different than yours.
That's right.
I'm going through it. And every single day I have to go back and I have to say, God, give me the strategy. What are we doing today? God is my CEO. I have to say, God, what gift should I use today? Am I a speaker today? Am I a planner today? What are we doing today? I think it's really important to just know what you're rooted in, so that when times go rough, you can revert back to it.
I agree.
For me, it's my faith.
It is definitely your faith. And I think you said it too. And I was saying it earlier, like that spirit-led strategy is unmatched,
That's it.
right? Like you said, you woke up and it was just like Purpoint Group.
Where did it come from? Sometimes I'm still amazed at, someone tried to buy it from me. Someone
No,
tried to buy it.
I'm not surprised because it has the it has God all over it. Who wouldn't? But there are some things that have no price tag, right?
Not
There's
at
so
all.
many things that he entrusts us with that are invaluable, right? He gave that to you for you. And I think that is important to know as well when you're in a season. Like you said, you have mentorship and then you had to build a team. And so if you're not positioned in purpose, the way you said, right, to win, then what happens is when you build the team, you recruit the wrong people. Then your ship is going to sink. So what tips can you offer to someone who is now in a space where they know it's time to build a team, but they're nervous, right? They don't know where to start. And I can speak to this for myself because, when you start a business or you birth a product or service, it's like your baby,
It is.
You don't take your baby to any child care center. You don't feed your baby just any old thing. You don't let everybody hold your baby, right? But you also cannot smother your baby.
Yeah. So for me, it was really one of my mentors who identified the fact like, excuse me, miss, you need to hire help. Because again, because of my professional background, I am used to sitting on a trading desk. I am used to being in a very fast-paced, loud environment with lots going on and still being able to get everything done. And I've only just now learned in 2020, that's not okay. I just learned that after years of doing it, that you cannot take this on all by yourself. You don't have to. They were abusing you. I've only just learned like it's okay to hire people to help you,
right?
And trust
when
them.
you do, it really does allow you to focus more on doing your thing, right? Like really enhancing and being more impactful with what God has entrusted you to do. Because I know this for myself, and this is a conversation that I have with my husband a lot of times when I do outsource certain things. And he's like, oh, babe, I think you could do that. Yeah, I could do it. But what this person can do in 2 hours could potentially take me 2 weeks.
Yeah.
If we equate those 2 weeks to dollars, it just doesn't make sense, right?
So true. You asked what are some tips that they can do to hire. And I think it's really important to just do your due diligence, right? I'm going to say this because it's so important that people hire professionals, right? Hire professionals for the very reason that you just said. You're going to save on time equity, which is so important. And then you're going to save on money, dollars and cents, if you hire the right people to get the job done right the first time, Tiffany.
That's right. And I think the other piece of that too, though, even before you get to that point, is being able to take that step back and recognize who you really need on your team, right? Because there are certain things that look good in a social media post about you hiring somebody to do X, Y, Z. But is that really what you needed to invest the money in? And are you going to get the right return?
The return. Yeah, exactly. That's very true. But again, due diligence. I am a big believer in due diligence. And somebody might say like, well, what does that look like now in this day and age? Like, what does that, it looks like LinkedIn. It looks like log on to all of their social media profiles. Take a good assessment of who this person is. I'll give you an example, a graphic designer. If there's a graphic designer that you're interested in working with and they do great work on Instagram, but then you jump over to Facebook and they're doing something else. You know what I mean? That's a clear indication that is not the right person that you want on your team.
That's right.
It's just not. And so I'm really big on doing research. And if you can't do the research, then you hire somebody who can come on board and do the due diligence for you to make sure that you do vet the people that you are hiring on your team. It's really important.
And you also do need to vet referrals.
Yes.
Because someone else's standard of excellence may not be equivalent to yours. And you gotta
you gotta say that again. That louder.
I think, so often, and you should be able to rely on your network, but you also have to recognize, just like I said, your business or your ministry or whatever you're building is your baby, right?
Yeah.
So my baby might be in gifted classes. Your baby may not. And so the referral for a nanny for my baby is going to be a little bit different than what someone with a child who has special needs is going to need. So you got to take those referrals even with a grain of salt.
Yeah, I want to share this with you. And it is just so crazy. I remember in 2019, when I was going through, after he left and before my mother passed, there was a month. And I remember in my journal writing down a list of people that I wanted to work with. I remember writing it down, and I remember saying, okay, I want this person to be my publicist. I want this person to be my mentor. I want this person to do this. I wrote them down by name. Tiffany, today is September 23rd. Every single person that I wrote down,
wow,
I work with them. I work with them in some capacity, whether as a client, whether as a subcontractor on my team, but every person's name that I wrote down in November of 2019, I work with in 2020.
And all of that came to pass, even in the midst of pandemic on pandemic. But I think it goes back to what you said. You are putting yourself in position to win on purpose, even before it came to fruition, writing it down, like you said, declaring it to be.
I'm big on that.
Yes, declaring it to be before it even actually came to pass. And of course, you don't write it down and forget it. There's some prayer and some work that is associated with bringing those things to fruition, right?
That's the next thing that I was going to say. Like, I pray about everybody because I've had bad experiences of joining coaching programs or working with mentors who really weren't mentors, right? Like, I've had those experiences too. So I can speak to that extensively. I know what it feels like firsthand to walk into a situation blind and just trust that this person is going to take me to the next level and it being false. So now I don't just hire anybody. I don't just work with everybody. I don't just speak with anybody. Like, I vet everybody because I want to make sure that these people are going to be a good representation of my company and my name.
That's right. That's right. I have to agree with you there because, for as much as it's important to do that work for my company and my name, I also know that God is building his reputation on me. And so I can't put his name on no mess or
That's right.
on anything that has to do with messy people.
That's right. Yep.
So yeah,
that's a good point
there. It's so important. And so I'm or were you going to say something?
No, I'm just laughing because I love this so much. I love that we are on one accord. Like, I just love this. I really do. Thank you.
I think it's so important to get to a place where you don't feel like you have to compartmentalize, right? Where you can integrate both your faith and business and still be able to be a powerhouse and serve a vast mixed and versatile group of clients. And I know because we've been connected for some time now that you do that so very well. And I'm just curious about your journey to getting to that point, because I can be 100% transparent and tell you that being able to get to this place was a personal pandemic for me.
Yeah.
I used to tell people, like, I'm being tormented by my calling.
Girl.
It's like, seriously, it was really tough. I struggled a lot. I would be curled up in a ball and like, God, like, why isn't this working? I'm doing what you're telling me to do. But what I was doing to an extent was I was pacifying God. I was saying just enough so I could be like, okay, check the box. I covered it. Now let's get to the real thing.
Can I just say, oh my goodness, that is so accurate. And I feel I had the same pull, right? There was a time I'll go back to 2018 again. There was a time I was a part of some communities that I loved. I loved being a part of the communities. And I just felt, this is when I first, I'll say, started to develop my relationship with the Holy Spirit, honestly. I was in communities and I kept feeling a nudge, like, get out of here. You can't be here. And I was like, no, I like it here,
Like, what are you talking about? Like, what's up?
So I would journal and it would be like, nope, I have better plans for you. I got more space for you. This is not for you. These people are not for you. And I'd be like, no, but these are my friends. And then people would ghost me. And I would just always feel like I was so naked. I would show up in spaces online then I felt like, oh my God, wait a second. I don't think I'm supposed to be doing this right now. And that was my being disobedient, because he had already told me to cut this short, end this right now. And I was like, no, but I'm going to lose my brand. I'm going to lose my numbers. What about my follower? It's so silly in hindsight.
It is in hindsight, but in the moment, it's like that conviction wears you down. But I always say conviction inspires correction. And because he continues to convict us with grace, of course, then we can course correct and get it together.
Very, very true. And so that battle, that tug of that, anybody that's listening, that tug that you feel, when I tell you, if you just obey God, period, like nothing else, do exactly as he's saying, not knowing what's on the other side of it, not knowing nothing.
That's right.
Tiffany, girl, I can't. Like,
it's transformational though. And then what I can say is that when I got on the other side and I started to embrace it, it was so freeing.
Yeah.
Like I was dragging this burden around for no reason.
Yeah. I want to answer your question, because you said, how do I balance it? And I don't. There is no balance. I am fully 100% Karlet. I'm fully 100% Karlet. Everybody that interacts with me, whether that's clients, I don't care if they're in corporate or they're just, everyday entrepreneurs. Everybody that interacts with me knows I am a representation of the kingdom first.
That's right.
First.
That's right.
And I say it on conference calls. I say it on Zoom calls first. Like if it ever comes up and they're like, oh my God, how are you so cheery? And I'm just like, it's by the grace of God. You know what I mean? How are you always in a good mood? Whoop, it's by the grace of God. Praise God. Listen. Everybody knows who I am. And so when they say, how do you balance faith and entrepreneurship? It's because I show up as myself.
That's good.
This is who I am.
That's very real. And I think that you made it so clear and stated it so simplistically. That's how simplistic it is. I think we allow the world to overpower us and overshadow it. And it becomes this heavy thing. Like what if I offend somebody? What if this, what if that? And it's like, this is what is.
Yes. In totality. And I think it's very important for us to know, women of faith or whatever you identify with, whatever for me, I'm a Christian, and I always say it. I want people to know I'm a Christian. I'm a representation of Christ first, and then I'm a mother, and then I'm a mother, and then I'm this, and then I'm that. But before I am Adam's mom, I am a disciple of Jesus Christ first. And anybody that interacts with me, whether in life or business, you're going to automatically know that because his light shines through me first.
Period.
Yeah, not, and somebody literally one time tried to have a whole battle with me about that. And I was like, no, before I am Adam's mom.
That's right. It is written.
That's it. And so
yes,
there's no balance. That's just me in totality.
I love that. And I hope that whoever needed to catch that really caught it, because you cannot compartmentalize yourself. And when I explain it to people, I always try and say, like, you need oxygen to breathe, right? We cannot exist without oxygen. And so in your house, you don't say like, okay, there's a little bit of oxygen in the kitchen, there's a little bit in the bathroom. It's like there is oxygen everywhere, right? The entirety of you is surrounded by oxygen, or you're dying. And the same thing is true of being wholly you and being authentic. You can't compartmentalize it, because if you do, then part of you is going to start to die.
Exactly. I also think, and I want to say this because I know somebody out there needs to hear it, the same way, people that are of the world are very bold and confident in whatever they believe in. Wow. It's important that we have to be that way. Like I would never, I would never want somebody who is of the world to be louder than me.
Listen, say that again for the people in the balcony.
Yeah, no, like I want you to know that person that's over there that's dabbling in all that foolishness, they would never be. We're not going to walk in the same room, and you're going to see me.
That's
because
right.
I come in the name. Okay.
Come on.
Yeah, I come in the name, and that's every room.
That's right.
And literally, when I say take up space, and when I say put yourself in position, that is what it means. It means to enter in representation of him. I come in the name of Jesus Christ. I want you to see him through me in everything that I do, as an event planner, as a mother, as a strategist, as an author, as a speaker, whatever the title. Before we talk about all of that, let it be known and let it be clear. Karlet doesn't dabble in foolishness.
All
Let it
right
be known,
now.
don't bring me no foolishness. And I truly believe God and God alone was the one that was like, this man is not for you. And so because I loved it and I wanted it and I wanted to be there, he knew that man is not for you. And so he removed it because I come in his name, and he protects his children.
Literally, he fled from you.
He did. Because the light shines so bright, they can't stay.
That's right.
It's the truth.
He couldn't bear it.
It's the truth. It's the truth. And so he loves us so much as his children. And he don't love me any more than he loved you, Tiffany. And he doesn't love whoever is listening any more than he loves me. He's not a respecter of persons. He loves us.
That's right.
We are his children. And so when we represent God, God represents us. I'm a big believer in that.
I agree. I wholeheartedly agree. And I think that in this season, I wholeheartedly believe that in this season, he has shut some things down because there are too many of us who are his children, who his light does shine through, that we aren't loud enough, right? We've been tiptoeing around when he wants us to stomp, right? We've been shrinking down when he wants the bigness of who he is within us to be made plain. And so he shut some stuff down so that we could sit with ourselves and get ready, like you said, to be positioned to win. And so I know that you are super busy homeschooling. Adam's probably about to come looking for a snack or something. And I want to respect your time. But before I let you go, I do want to hear what you would say or your advice to the women who are in a space where they recognize that they need to pivot, or they've pivoted and it's not looking or feeling the way they thought it would be. Like, what would be Karlet's prescription to put yourself in position to win in the midst of a pandemic?
Yeah, so this is a great ending question, and it's also something that I practice every single day. So, I often hear people talk about mantras and affirmations and things like that, and I don't necessarily subscribe to any of that. What I do subscribe to is, let me just do the next best thing. And the next best thing, whether that is in your business or in your life, it's okay, well, I'm feeling depleted in this area. Let me pick up the phone and call somebody. I'm not making any sales in my business. Let me try something new. Like, just do the next best things. I think what we do too often as women and also as business owners is we try to eat the whole elephant. We try to take it all in. Like, oh, I just created this service and nobody bought it. Well, did you try this? And did you try that? You know what I mean? Get really creative. Tweak it as many times as you need to. And that goes for anything. Just do the next best thing. You don't have to have it all figured out, but that's what it means to walk by faith, right? The next best thing. So that's my strategy. I just do the next best thing.
And I think, again, you've simplified it so easily, but I think we talk ourselves out of the next best thing. And a lot of times we talk ourselves out of the next best thing because our faith isn't strong enough to recognize that you don't have to know what's going to come after that. You just have to do that. And then he'll reveal again the next best thing. But when you're feeling stuck or stagnant, it's generally part of the reason is because you don't like what the next best thing is, right? It's the work of it, or it's the way it's gonna look, or whatever it is. So if you didn't hear anything Karlet said, which, I mean, she dropped a lot of gems, but definitely the next best thing is what's going to be most important for you to be in position to win. And also staying consistent with doing the next best thing. Like, that is a whole strategy. Do the next best thing consistently.
Every day. Something that I would also say is, for me in this season of my life, and we can end here, my next best thing is just showing up every day. And so I started this segment on Instagram where I just show up every day at 10 p.m. Just show up every day at 10 p.m. on Instagram Live, right? Whatever happens when we get there is going to happen when we get there, but I'll be there even when I don't feel like it, because that's what we have to do in our lives. That's what I had to do to get out of the dark place. In January, I was crying. I was in a dark room, but I had to do the next best thing. I just had to get up and breathe, get up, drink water, take a shower, take care of my son, eat something, log online, open an email, respond. And those little things, when you add them up at the end of the month, you're like, oh my God, look what I did. Look at all this that I just did.
That's right.
So it's just the next best thing.
That's right. The next best thing done consistently leads to the next best bigger thing. That's right.
Yeah.
That's good. And you're right. That's such a good place to end on. I'm so grateful that we finally have this opportunity.
I love it here.
Together. I know, right? And chat and feel for a moment like everything is perfect and quote unquote normal, and just just be able to learn and vibe and connect in this way. I really do appreciate it. I don't take it for granted. So I want to thank you for your time, for joining us, and I'm sure we'll be doing it again sometime soon.
We have to. This was so much fun. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Before you go, tell everybody where they can connect with you in these internet streets. Where are you now?
Sure. I'm all over the internet. Karlet Hewitt. KarletHewitt.com.
You had your journal and jotted down some of the gems
Instagram
that were
and Facebook and Twitter.
By the amazing Karlet Hewitt.
So,
and even also if you are not a business owner,
and the Purpoint Group.
Will apply to your
life,
everywhere.
Will
apply to your bounce back journey, will apply to you preparing to share your story. So a ball of energy definitely and full of faith. Spend some time meditating on some of what she shared and apply it to your life as necessary. Will give you a dose of course, if you haven't already, if you were blessed by this episode or any others, I want to invite you to leave a review and create an opportunity for someone new to be blessed by what is shared here, and also find the Bounce Back Blueprint community, which I am inviting you again to join, where you will be challenged and encouraged on this bounce back journey to move from your test to your testimony, find your voice, reclaim your life, and of course, build a business with your story. We are on Facebook. The link is in the show notes, and I can't wait to see you over there. In the meantime, you know that I am going to leave you with this truth. God is not going to play you. But if you are not purposefully positioning yourself to win, even in the midst of a pandemic, you are definitely playing yourself. Until next time, be blessed.